Hey everyone, it's Dee from CatalystEnergies. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your daily catalyst for January 8th, 2020. And there are some pretty significant aspects happening today, although I feel like I say that every day, but my God, it's just how the times are right now. We have our our sun here, 17 degrees, 51 minutes as of 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And our moon, she's still moving through Gemini, now coming into the last decan of Gemini, and is expected to transit into Cancer the following day, very early in the morning, just after midnight Pacific Standard Time. And at that point, we're going to start moving into the full moon lunar eclipse energy. And I think that's already coming up and is already being felt. But I think once the moon moves into Cancer, that's going to really activate. But for now, she is still in Gemini and collecting a lot of information, collecting a lot of data, giving us a lot to think about. And as we're moving into these later degrees in Gemini, she's really starting to see that there are multiple sides to any situation, and that there is always a choice point when we are deciding how to move forward. And I think that's really the message for today. Today's astrology is, especially with the moon, is that she's showing us that we always have a choice. And sometimes we may need to take some time to consider all of the options or consider all of the sides to a situation in order to see where our choices may be, because sometimes we might not realize that we have a choice in a situation. But the reality is that we always have a choice with how we respond and how we behave and what we decide to tell ourselves and how to communicate that out, which is a Gemini trait, is communication. So backing up though, as the 8th rolls over very early on Pacific Standard Time on the 8th, we're going to have Jupiter exactly conjunct the south node of the moon. And, you know, considering that the south node is the point in which we're supposed to be releasing the energy we've mastered, it's now time to release. Especially in Capricorn, both of them being in Capricorn, which is very much about an industrious building of something very physical and long-lasting, something that will be a legacy that lasts for more than just our lifetime. And that's the idea of the Capricorn. And we'll get to the bottom line no matter what. Having Jupiter be the representation of leadership, of belief, of dogma, of truth, justice, the philosophy of life, having this point conjunct the south node today, I think is particularly interesting and could be it could be very troubling, because Jupiter is absolutely convinced that he does know the truth and that he is right, and he acts in accordance with that belief structure. Having the conjunction with the south node is something that we need to release in terms of the way that we in terms of building something and being very industrious and corporate and these large patriarchal structures. I feel like that we could potentially see some movement towards enacting that truth, or acting on what we feel is that truth, in order to keep going with this, and this drive towards building something substantial. Now the sun is at an interesting point today, and the sun and Saturn and Pluto are all going to have an inconjunct or a quincunx with the moon as she moves through these later degrees of Gemini, which is, an opportunity for an adjustment, because these are energies that absolutely don't have any relationship to each other. They are completely inconjunct, square peg in a round hole type of thing. And it's interesting because the Sabian symbol here for between 17 and 18 degrees of Capricorn is the Union Jack, and it's really about political and social protection and supervision. And so with the sun here today, and then to have this this conjunction here, there could very well be this idea that there is a need for political protection. There is a need for social protection and supervision, like some sort of outside overarching system or entity or even government, you know, to take the initiative to step into a leadership position in terms of enacting what they feel is right and what is best and what's in alignment with the highest good, or what is deemed as the truth. But you know, the thing that I think is interesting that also corresponds to today is that Mercury is also going to have, you can see this really dark blue line. This is a sextile to Neptune, which is a harmonious aspect, but it requires some sort of activation. And Neptune in Pisces is this dreamy, watery, illusory space that could either be used for creative inspiration and intuition, and also is the fog machine turned up to 11. There is no clear view. There is no clear picture. It's very easy to be deceived with a Neptune in Pisces because nothing is ever really clear. And when we have Mercury here in Capricorn, you know, the conversation and the messages have been very serious. It has all to do with what's the best for the long term. The conversation is about the structures that provide stability, the structures that provide political stability, the structures that provide social stability. All of these things have to do with Capricorn because it's very real and it's very stable. And also Capricorn goes forward with its agenda without really much concern for any of the other elements or aspects of the human experience. So it doesn't really matter how you feel about it, what you think about it. And with Mercury here, what you think about it is very serious. You're talking about business, long-term planning, what's the best for everybody. And with the sun here so close to Mercury, it's actually going to be conjunct with the sun on the full moon. So that's something that we'll talk about in the full moon report. But this could either be like totally illusory and supporting the illusion about the communication, what's necessary, what's for the highest good, especially with Jupiter here just pressing forward and believing that he is in the right and knows the truth. I would not be surprised if globally and politically things ramped up in terms of action taken for what is the best way to supervise and protect on a political spectrum. Now, from a personal viewpoint, depending on when this stuff or where this stuff is happening in your chart, Jupiter could really help expand on what does need to be released and take some leadership positions in terms of letting go of this south node and letting go of the need to focus all of our energy on creating these like really strong, you know, structures. And we could get a lot of creative inspiration here from Neptune in this sextile to Mercury. You know, the communication and the conversations might be very serious, but we might have been lacking in like some inspiration. And this connection here could very well provide that to kind of give us the next step on how to conceptualize what, you know, how we're going to build something that's going to last. Like I said, the moon is going to have these quincunxes, these inconjuncts with Saturn, Sun and Saturn and Pluto, all in the late degrees of Capricorn. And the moon in Gemini is really giving us this opportunity to consider all of these options, to take in all this data, to be curious about maybe a different way of seeing things. And it's going to potentially feel like there is no way that these things can match at all with each other, because what we might be coming to is realizing that there is more than one side of the story. There's always the potential to make a choice to change. There's always the possibility and the opportunity to change our perspective in order to change our reality. And so Capricorn, there is no really changing of reality with Capricorn. It is what it is, and it's built in a very stable, strong way, but there's not a lot of fluidity here in Capricorn. And so with all this energy here, we're not feeling like there's much fluidity at all. In fact, we're feeling like it's pretty, you know, it's pretty much focused on its end goal. And the moon in Gemini is showing us that there are different perspectives to be had. I think that, and then at this point, the moon later in the afternoon into the early evening, depending on where you are, is going to go void of course, which means she's not going to make any major aspects again until she changes signs. And so the last aspect that she is going to make is this trine to Venus in Aquarius. And so you have these two air signs, these two feminine points, the moon and Venus, coming into a very harmonious balance. It's very, a strong base. There doesn't need to be anything added to it to get the balance and the harmony between these 2 points. And I think that the moon at this point is really going to show us that we do have a choice. We have a choice in what we think. We have a choice into what we communicate and let other people know about what we think, what our ideas are. And it's specifically going to be helping balance out our desire for harmonious and balanced relationships, projects, when it comes to a freedom, really, and being part of the larger collective. You know, Venus in Aquarius wants to be networked with the right group of people, wants the freedom to be herself and at the same time be herself as part of a whole. And she's been teaching us this whole time as she's been moving through Aquarius. What is it that makes us feel free in the context of our material lives? And having this beautiful trine with the moon right before she goes void of course and moves into Cancer tomorrow, I think is finally showing us what choices we can make within us to change our perspective, change our thought process, in order to find this freedom within our relationships, within our projects and our work and our physical lives. And I just think that this is a beautiful way to end the transits of the day, especially since there seems to be some really intense potential moves forward in a way that could be very judgmental and dogmatic, and thinking that some people thinking they know what's best for a situation because they think they know the truth of a situation. And the moon in Gemini is absolutely showing us that there isn't necessarily like one truth, but there are a spectrum of ideas that we can, you know, find ourselves engaging with. And it's really up to us and our own choice which ideas and thoughts to engage with and which ones to let go of. And so it's going to be an intense day, and the intensity is definitely building. So I'm really encouraging people to take care of themselves and to really realize that you do have a choice. You do have always have a choice in how you respond, how you behave, and what thoughts and ideas you let come in and what you communicate out. You know, you could certainly communicate fear and hatefulness and division, or you can communicate love, and you can communicate compassion, and you can communicate light. So I actually wanted to pick a card real quick, just to give a little bit of added guidance. This is from the Akashic Tarot deck, and just a little bit of extra guidance and a little bit of extra focus for today. All right, so let's see here. Cut the deck. I'm gonna stop the share. Oops. So you can just look at my face. All right, and we have the birth card. I know this is like impossible to see, so I'll just post it on my Facebook page with this post so you can get a clear vision of it. So yeah, this webcam is not that great. The 4 in the Akashic, it's birth, and I think, you know, this is an opportunity to birth a new set of intentions, but not even that, just to realize that we're birthing a new world right now, and there is a lot of newness, and we always have a choice to engage with the ideas and the thoughts that resonate the most with our highest potential. And I think that's really the message of today. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you subscribed, hit the like button. All of the information for how to get a hold of me is in the description box below. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can always just like my page, and then you will be able to get these updates as soon as they happen. And if you want to reach out to me for a reading or Reiki, or you just have some questions or concerns, I'm really accessible through Facebook. All the information is there on my services tab. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next video, and make sure to take care of each other. Bye.